Welcome, welcome, welcome to another Deacjwilson STEM video. So this is going to be part 2 of the mitered, the cutting angles, mitered and butted angles project, okay? So part 2 is where we're actually going to start learning how to cut these angles and start putting them together, okay? So we talked about, or where we rephrase it, there are a couple different type of angles. There's mitered angles, and then there are butted angles, okay? Mitered angles are typically angles where you cut them at an angle and then you fit them together of some sort. Butted angles just butt right up against the other, okay? So, just to give you some understanding of what we're talking about. Now, each of these angles can be put together in different ways, but I'm going to show y'all the way that I want for this particular project, okay? So, for the 90-degree angle, okay, obviously if you want, you can butt two of those up against each other, but I don't want you to do that. You want to cut both of these, and again, I want you to write it down, I want you to write it down on your paper that you did before. You're going to use two 45-degree angle cuts, okay? So one of these you're going to cut to 45, and then you're going to cut the other at 45, and then that 45 and 45 is going to give you that 90. So that's what I want for this one. The 60-degree is the same thing, except you're using a different angle. So for the 60, you're going to need to cut two 30s, okay? So 2 at 30. You know what? I know I did that whole thing with the at symbol, but I'll do it this way just so it might be a little bit easier for y'all. Okay? The 45, again, check this out. You're going to cut 2 at 45 degrees. Okay? It's just all about how you put them up against each other. All right? And then the 30, you're going to cut 2 at 30. So for the 90-degree, you're going to end up putting the mitered edges together. For the 60, you're going to put the mitered edges, together. The two 45s, you're going to end up putting the butted edges together, or you're going to end up butting one edge against the other, and the same thing with the 30. Okay? So, let's show you how you're going to do this. Alright? Now, out of one of those 1/8" materials that I gave you, okay, what you're going to want to do, and this is what I want, you're going to cut 4-inch sections, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my handy ruler, and I'm going to measure some sections, okay? So I want to start my piece at 0, okay? I'm going to count the 4 to the 4-inch mark, so 1, 2, so 1, 2, 3, 4. So there's 4 inches, and I want to make a tick mark here. I'm going to draw right on my material. Okay? I'm going to count another 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's another 4-inch section. And then count one more. 1, 2, 3, 4. So right now I have 1, 2, 3, 3 4-inch sections. I don't want that, okay? I want one more, uno más. So I'm gonna move my ruler, start that last one down here at 0, that last tick mark, and then count to 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, another 4-inch section, and make a tick mark. Okay, so now I have my 4-inch sections. 4-inch sections, how you like that. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is now I'm going to cut them. So I'm going to be using a timber cutter, and I'm sorry, some of y'all may not have a timber cutter. If you don't have a timber cutter, use an Exacto blade. I would encourage you not to use scissors, just because scissors can splinter your material rather than giving a nice clean cut that an Exacto blade or my timber cutter is going to give it. Okay? But you got to use what you have. That's if you don't have it, I would encourage you to use some sand to get some sandpaper as well, so that way if an edge doesn't come out right, you can just sand it lightly down. Okay? All right. So I am going to cut my 4 4-inch sections. We have this phrase in engineering says measure twice, cut once. Measure twice, cut once. All right. So one of the things that I'm actually doing, right, is as I'm going through this, I already measured it once with my ruler, but my timber cutter has a ruler on it too, on the edge. So I'm actually measuring it there as well. So that is my measuring twice. Okay. So there are my 4-inch sections, okay? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut each of these in half, okay? Please understand it does not need to be perfect, but I want them to be as close to half as possible. And the reason for that is when you put these together, it will make your life a little bit easier, okay? So what I'm going to do is, and you can use your, actually no, I'll just use my ruler. So I'm just going to take these, and again, half of 4 is what? 18. It is not. Half of 4 is 2. Come on now. So there is, I'm going to make a mark at 2. Grab another one. Take a mark at 2. Another one. Take mark at 2. And last, or certainly not least, take mark at 2. So now I have my 4-inch angles that are pieces that I'm about to cut in half to make 8 2-inch pieces. Now let's do this. So I'm going to pull out my timber cutter again. Now obviously if you have an Exacto knife, just go ahead and use your Exacto knife. Cut them in half. And what we're going to end up doing is each of these pieces is going to be used, well, each of these 4-inch pieces is going to be used to make one of those angles that we created, okay? Now the last one. So I'm pretty much done with my timber cutter for right now. I'm going to be showing y'all again, with the timber cutter, it's easy to cut angles because using the timber cutter, the angle marks are actually listed on here. And what I can do, if I wanted to make a 45-degree angle, like this is 45 degrees right here, I would just slide my piece of material over this here. Actually, I want to do this. Slide my piece of material and just to the tip of it gets under the edge, and then I'm going to cut it. And so now you see I have that nice 45-degree angle. But you notice it's because I'm going to be making this 90 degrees right here. For the 90 degrees, we need two 45-degree angle cuts. Okay? So I'm going to grab my other 2-inch piece that I said that I was going to need. I'm going to slide that under. And now I have another nice, beautiful 45-degree angle cut. Now check this out. This is what you're doing for this project. So when I put both of these 45s together, right? That is my 90-degree angle. That's what I'm going to do for this one. However, check this out, check this out, check this out. All right, if I wanted to make a 45, I would then butt one of the 45 angles up against one of the other pieces. I wouldn't put the mitered pieces together. I butt them together like this, or like this. Either way works, and it gives you a 45-degree angle piece. Okay, but we're doing this one right now, okay? So we are creating that. Now, Mr. Wilson, Mr. Wilson, Mr. Wilson, Mr. J-Will, right? How are we going to put all that together? Well, I'm glad you asked. What we're going to do is, y'all know I have my green glue. I'm going to, again, hopefully you have like a napkin or something like that you know, I'll grab a nice piece of paper so I don't mess up my desk. I'm going to grab a separate sheet of paper because I don't want this to get messed up. And then this is glue, my trusty green glue. I'm just going to dab the end of this in here. I don't need a lot. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this together like so. Okay. And there is my 90-degree. Now, some of you will be saying, Mr. Wilson, Mr. Wilson, Mr. J-Will, how do I do this if I do not have a timber cutter? Well, I'm also glad you asked, because here's how we're going to do this. But for this project, right, if you do not have a timber cutter, if you have a timber cutter, great, okay? But if you do not have a timber cutter, then this method is an alternate way in which you're going to do the 60-degree, okay? All right, so let me show you how to do this. So you're going to take one of your pieces, right? One of those 2-inch pieces, and you're going to match it up with the top of this line, with the top of that 1/8-inch line as best as you can. And you're going to put the corner right on that center dot right there, okay? So let's zoom in just a bit so you can see exactly what I'm trying to show you here, okay? You're to slide it all the way into that corner as best as possible. Okay? Then you want to take your pencil and you're going to try and trace from the corner. You're going to try and trace that line that you originally created. So you're just going to be cutting off that little tip right there. Okay? Now what you'll do is you can take your Exacto knife. Again, be very careful with your Exacto knife, please. Take your Exacto knife and then just gently cut that piece off. Okay? Now, that is a 60-degree angle. Okay? Now, remember I told you, okay, we would normally, if you had a timber cutter, we would cut 2/30s, okay? But for this project, you don't have to do that, okay? Just cut one of these at a 60. Well, actually, you're going to cut both of them at 60. You'll grab the other piece, do the same thing that I just showed you. So, you'll take this, slide it right into that corner to the best of your ability. Make a little line there. I kind of like to gray this out just so I feel better about it. Match it up to the best of my ability, and then cut that off. Now, that is a 60-degree. However, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to butt these two together. So I'm going to, rather than make two 30 degrees and mitered, I'm going to do two 60 degrees butted. Okay? Now, whichever one of these you choose, so if you have the timber cutter, put a check mark next to this one, so when you turn it into me, I know exactly what I'm looking for. But if you're using the Exacto knife and you're doing the process I just showed you, write down the two 60-degree butted and put a check mark. Okay? Questions? All right. So that's let me zoom out a little bit. So we're going to go through that same thing that we did with the first one. There's some of my green glue. I'm going to dab my green glue. And I'm going to butt those two edges together. Again, don't use a whole bunch of glue, because it will it'll take away from your project. Okay? So, next part of this is the 45s, okay? So I'm going to do this, I'm going to do the 45s just like I did this one, okay? Because many of you may not have a timber cutter. If you have a timber cutter, then obviously you're just going to cut to two 45s and you're going to put the, you're going to butt one edge up against the other. But if you don't, then obviously you're going to have to use the Exacto. All right, so I'm going to do that again. So now I'm going to be working with the 45. Okay, slide this in there. Try and match it up the best that I can. Exacto. And then cut that. It's a nice 45, right? Okay. I'm going to take the second piece. Match it up the best that I can. Please remember, I'm not looking for perfection. I'm just looking for you to do your very best. There's that one. Match it up. Okay. So remember, if I put the mitered edges together, it would be two 90 degree, but that's not what we're doing. We are butting these up against each other. So now I have a 45 degree angle. Take that, dip it in the green glue, and then butt those together. Okay? Zoom out some. Okay. And the last part is the 30 degree. Okay. So the 30 degree, guess what? Same second verse, well, actually fourth verse, same as the first. Okay. You all know the process. First one, zoom in a little bit more, tighten this up. Now check this out. Just say you make a mistake, right? You cut it off and you cut, part of this wrong. Nothing is stopping you from cutting it again or making your mark and cutting it again and making it better. Okay? As long as you have material, you can do it. And again, one of the cool things is the piece of material that you originally cut this from was 24 inches. We only used 16 of it for this project. And what you're able to do is you can still use part of that 8 inches that you have left over. Like if you make a mistake or something, you can use some part of that 8 inches to fix whatever you've done, okay? Or whatever mistake you feel you might have made. All right, and so this is my last cut using the Exacto. Now, remember before, and I'm going to zoom out a little bit. Now, remember before, for the 60, right? I could have cut 2 30s, right? And if I put the mitered edges together, it makes that 60 degree angle. Okay? But remember, for the 30 is 2 30s butted up against each other. So I'm going to take this edge, and I can butt it either this way or I can butt it this way. It does not matter to me, okay? So let me grab some of my green glue. Green glue, green glue, where are you? All right. And then, again, I'm doing a 30, so I am going to butt that up together. Those up against each other. Okay? Now this is your completed project. Actually, one of the things I do want you to do is get some tape. And I want you to tape your pieces in place. Then I want you to make sure you write your name in the middle, okay? Your first and last name. Make sure you write it in the middle of your paper. So your final project is going to look something like this, okay? So 90, 60, 45, 30. You drew each one. Okay, and then after you draw them, then you can go ahead and create them. Okay. Any questions? All right. Peace. Hope you got a lot out of it. Again, hashtag go build something cool. That's what we're working on. Going to go build something cool. All right. With that, thanks for watching, and be great.